What's going on, people? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown here, man. And this is the post-fight reaction video, fan talk to Brook versus Khan. We got Laurie in the building, of course. And listen, Laurie, hey, this was a great night. Not because of the spectacle and the fight and everything else. We'll wait for everybody to come in. But we passed 1,000 subs last night, man. So that's a big. We need a round of applause for that. You know what I mean? That was. Really happy about that, man. That was great to hear that on the show as well with you there. You know what I mean? It was just a good feeling. Past that 1,000 subs barrier now. And we've been pushing this for a long time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like really pushing to get through this 1,000 mark. We've done it now. And it's onwards and upwards.
Yeah, man. You know what? I just want to start by saying thanks to everybody, of course, on reaching the 1,000 subs. Amazing. But I'm just looking back in retrospect. It's actually been a great weekend for me. On Saturday, Arsenal, very good performance, 2-1 win against Brentford. Should have been more, but you know, we were well in control of that game. We won the game. The fight, tremendous fight. We're going to talk about that, obviously, but it wasn't just the fact that I got my prediction right and the fact that I'm so pleased for Kel, but it was a great fight as well. With these pay-per-views and with these big events, you're often worried that the fight doesn't quite live up to expectation. But I thought that, I mean, okay, it was a bit one-sided in the end. But it was a tremendous occasion, and that was good. And then, obviously, you getting your 1,000 subs on the night, that was great. And then going into today, AFTV, we've got a football team, which I'm one of the, I helped to run the team. And we had a game today in the stormy conditions, and we won 8-0. And I know some of the guys who play for the team, they love their boxing and they watch the show. Some of them subscribe to the channel as well. So they'll be watching this. So big up you, man. Brilliant performance today. We beat Hackney Wick 8-0. And I'm going to be honest, that scoreline did not flatter us. We played very, very well today. Against
Is that Bobby Kasanga's team?
Yeah, that's Bobby's team. So shout out to Bobby, man. Bobby actually played. And you know what? Bobby, like, I'm going to keep it 100. Like, obviously, he's an older guy than some of the younger guys, and he's carrying a bit more weight than he would have done back in the day. But hey, man, he showed a couple of good touches, and there was a particular moment in that game where he did a little overhead and beat our defender, and Matthew, who is the captain of our team. And Matthew is a very, very good player. Matthew actually played against Christian Eriksen last week. Now, Christian Eriksen had his little run out against Southend last week. Matthew was playing for Southend in that game. So that shows you how good Matthew is. And I doubt whether Eriksen handled Matthew the way that Bobby did today. So yeah, anyway, so it's been a great weekend, man.
Yeah, great weekend, man. And let's talk about it, man. First of all, just want to shout out everybody in the comments as we do. You know, the Conrads are here. As always, Harvey in the building. He's put, yo, what's up, bro? Huge congrats on the 1K. You deserve it. You guys have been there. You've heard me moaning about it for weeks. We're finally there. Francisco said, congratulations. Conrad has said, congrats, well deserved. Big up all you guys, man. And this is not the usual format of the podcast. We're just here to talk about Khan and Brook today. Our post-fight thoughts to it. Obviously, we were on the watch-along yesterday in the Don Robbie Studios. That was brilliant. And I really enjoyed it with all the guys there. So we gave our reactions after the fight. But now we've had 24 hours to digest it. Do you know what I mean? Had time to soak it all in. And now we can give our thoughts on it on here, on this platform. And of course, we are happily inviting everybody onto this platform as well to air your opinions as well. It is Fan Talk. So we'll let you come on here, briefly have your say. And you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. But you can come on here and briefly have your say if you don't want to say it in the comments or whatever. And we'll let you guys on. So we've already got one person waiting. We'll get him on. IB has said here, congrats, Daryl and Laurie. I love the watch-along too. The watch-along was good, man. Very entertaining it was. Harvey says,
very good fun.
Harvey says here, what a performance from Kel. I'm over the moon for him. Let me give my thoughts on it, Laurie, and then I'll let you have the floor, and then we'll invite our guest on. And of course, I'll put the link in here again. I'll keep putting it through in here for anyone that might want to join and air your opinions on the show as well. But my thoughts on the fight, man. My prediction earlier on, I thought that, you know, I had Khan winning. I wasn't 100% confident in that pick because we know, how Khan has lost before. But I just thought that Brook had suffered more damage over the years. I thought that Khan, it was a good move for him to bring in Bomac and having Terence Crawford there in the corner, considering that they had beat Brook just last time out. And I just thought that, yeah, maybe the damage that Kell Brook sustained over the last couple of years might have caught up to him. But I was wrong, and I was very wrong, because Brook looked brilliant last night. He dominated it really from start to finish. From the first round, he had Khan on wobbly legs, and it was a composed Brook. He was, very economical in there, as he always is, had a very strong jab, busted Khan up pretty much for the 6 rounds. And like you said, which I'm sure you're going to be able to explain a bit further as well, it could have been stopped earlier. So shout out to Kell Brook, man. He got the win that he's wanted for so long. I thought that the emotions might come into play. I thought that he might, it might get the better of him, but he's an experienced vet. He went in there, took care of business, and it really, in the end, it wasn't much of a fight at all.
That's a very accurate assessment there, really. Apart from where you said it wasn't really a fight at all, because I do think that we do have to give Amir Khan credit, because he took some hellacious punishment last night. And that's keeping in consistent with his careers, that he's always shown lots of heart, lots of bottle. He's a true fighting man. So I want to say that. That being said, I think it's fair to also say that Kell, man, wiped the floor with him, really, didn't he? Let's be honest, man. It's interesting. Today, I was listening to some of the commentary elsewhere on Sky and one or two other places, and they were saying that that Amir Khan may have won rounds 2 and 3. Now, I didn't have it that way. I thought Kell won every single round. Don't get me wrong. Amir Khan recovered from the knockdown quite well. Then he got knocked down. Sorry, he got badly wobbled in round 1. So you're thinking in the second round he's going to be in serious trouble. And he did ship a couple of big right hands towards the end of the second round, which is why I gave the round to Kell. But up until that point, he was doing quite well. So, but yeah, what you were saying earlier about Kell being composed and calculating, and and his punch selection and his punch variation, it was nigh on a punch perfect performance. Now, we do have to take into account that, yes, Amir Khan, the 35-year-old version of Amir Khan, is obviously not the 23 or the 25 or the 27 or even the 30-year-old Amir Khan. But nevertheless, it was a mightily very impressive performance. And Daryl, that after the fight, I was actually saying to you, and you were me and you were going back and forth in a good-natured way, of course. I was saying, listen, man, Kell, I don't want to see him retire after last night, bro. I think he's got at least a couple more fights left in him. And I'm keeping it 100. I was that impressed by him. I thought, because let's be honest, he didn't show any weaknesses. He did get caught a couple of times by shots. He ate those, bro. He ate those. And even when he took those shots, and they were clean shots, he didn't lose his composure. He kept behind his jab. Listen, I was very impressed by him, man. I haven't seen him box that well for years. Would you say that? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, well, absolutely, yeah. For me, I've just, we'll get Ian on here. We've got Ian waiting, and I can see Ash waiting as well. We'll get Ash on afterwards. But we'll add Ian into the chat now. But I just want to say, Laurie, your point about the retirement, I know, like, we were talking about it for a while, me, you, Don, and I would just like to see Brook say, you know what? I've done it. I've won a world title. I've beaten my nemesis. Does it get any better after this? Am I going to reach another high like I have here? You know what I mean? Maybe I should bow out on top. And, he's not going to get that much of an emotional high after this. Like, I don't think.
Alternatively, he might consider to himself, I felt so good last night. It would be a shame for me to bow out the sport knowing that I've still got more to give. Because, like, as they say, there's that famous phrase, not just in boxing, but in sport, they say, you're a long time retired. So, if he was to pack it in tomorrow or whatever, in another 6 years' time, you'd probably be sitting watching some of the other guys like Conor Benn and that and thinking, you know what, I could have beaten that guy. I was a bit too hasty announcing my retirement. It'd be interesting to see what our guest here thinks. But
Ian,
Seriously,
yeah.
based on what I saw last night, man, Kel has got juice. He's still got juice, bro. Trust me.
Ian, give us your thoughts on the fight, and then obviously if you want to see Brooke carry on or not. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to see Khan retire, but give us your thoughts on the fight, and afterwards.
Evening, guys, and evening to the knowledge that is Mr. Laurie.
Big up, man. Nice to meet you.
Bye, nice to meet you, Laurie. What can I say about the fight? My God, from the first round, they weren't doing the typical feeling round. They just went for each other, and that atmosphere. Okay, you might have heard it. Maybe you heard it back, because I know you were watching it without sound, but that I haven't heard a split fan base like that in my life. Like, you just, every time one landed a punch, you could hear the crowd go up for each. I had the whole surround sound up to the max, and
Wow,
it was utterly incredible. On the fight, I thought it was pretty kind of even up until maybe fourth, fifth, when Brooks started getting most of his stuff in.
You thought it was even?
Well, yeah, because I thought, look, Brooke was slowly getting to him, but Khan was he was hitting him. He wasn't like not missing him. They were both missing each other and both throwing off. But then Brooke got more. I felt like Brooke got more of his accuracy from the fifth. Like he was starting to amp it up around the fourth or fifth. I can't remember. I've only watched the fight once when it was on last night. I might have to watch the fight back. But that was Brooke was starting to get it off more as the fight went on. But I did keep thinking, if he doesn't get him out within 6, where's his gas tank regarding the weight? I was always thinking about this. So that's why I thought he upped the ante around that time, because I thought that Brooke has a thing of slowing down as the fight goes on. But I thought it was, I know they fought each other late, but it still was a great fight, though. I mean, they hit each other with everything. I just thought this could have gone on all night. It was like the first few rounds was like a car park fight.
What do you think about the notion of after that? I mean, do you want to see Khan retired? Do you want to see Brooke retired? Do you want to see what do you want to see from both of them now?
I personally, Daryl, I think they both should. Like, what more does Brooke have to gain? I mean, for Brooke, please do not get in the ring with Eubank Jr. That's what Eubank has everything to gain out of beating him. He has nothing to gain out of beating him.
I agree with that.
Don't entertain it. Don't do it. Just don't even mention him. Khan, look, I've admired the guy his whole career. I was a 10-year-old watching him in Athens, so it's always been like he was one of the first guys I properly followed and all. And I mean, what else has he got to prove? He's done it all. He's done it. He's won champ titles, been a mainstream name, earned a lot of money. I imagine he's been paid well for his whole career. What left have they both got to prove? Unless something's dangled in front of them, but there's nothing left for them both to prove. They kind of both gave gave themselves to us and all that in terms of their careers. But I can't see what else they would gain if they continue. Then they're just like, they're both putting themselves at risk and risk becoming the name for some young pup to beat. I mean, like, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm on your wavelength here, but Laurie and a lot of other people I know have said that they'd like to see there's still more juice left. Box fans have said here he's got juice, but how much?
Well, this is the question. You see, I agree with Ian totally there about you should not enter into any conversation about a Eubank fight. And I was a bit disappointed that Eubank's actually calling out Kell Brook. That's like 2 weights south of his. I thought he was concentrating on world titles. He had a performance the other day. Chris Eubank probably wouldn't agree with me, but I didn't think it was a great performance, to be honest, against Liam Williams. He should have got Liam Williams out of there. And he should be looking now. Nothing else should be entering his mind other than Golovkin or one of those guys to fight for a title. He should not be looking down south in terms of weight down south to be fighting a world. I thought that's just even hear him talk about that to me. To me, that kind of belies ambition. He needs to be going after a world title fight. Ian, what you said about Amir Khan, absolutely 100% agree. He does need to pack it in, not just from a career standpoint, but for his own health. I mean, he took what we call a mollywhopping last night, man. He got battered. He got battered last night, man. You saw his face afterwards.
Oh, it was just. Oh,
yeah,
it looked like
horrible. Yeah, I've never seen him battered like that. I've seen him get knocked out, but not battered around the ring like that. So he definitely does need to retire. Like you said, he's a great servant to British boxing, an amazing career. He won a silver medal at Athens when he was 17 years old. That's phenomenal. He's 2-time world champion. yes, he lost this match to Kell Brook. He's going out on less than a high, but even so, he will get that respect from the boxing public. With regards to Kell, now the reason why I say what I said is because I have to say that he shocked me last night, because I predicted he would win, and I was quite confident that he would win in the end, and he won well. But it's the manner of the win, you know what I mean, where he committed to me, he bossed it. There were a few close rounds because Andy does throw a lot of punches. So, you know, some people say, oh, you might have won the second round. But to me, Kell was always in control. He was pushing him back. He was landing the better punches. He just had that ring presence about him. The ring played in 12, 15 rounds. I mean, he was always. I was so impressed. I'm thinking, you know what? If he retires like straight away, he's probably going to miss out on some paydays there, man, because there's some fights here that could be made. So, for example, Conor Benn.
He's had a lot of paydays.
Conor Benn, and
he's had a lot of paydays. And let me get Ian out.
What about Brook versus?
Listen, that's a great fight, but he has Ian. Last one from you, Brook and Furman. Do you like that?
You know, if you'd asked me this a few hours ago, I wouldn't have entertained it. But both are they both kind of need. Still, I think I'd rather Brook call it a day. But he said it himself last night. If the pound sign is good, and if Al Heyman throws enough at him, then maybe he will do it. But again, what does he get? What does he get out? I think what does he get out of beating Furman? Like, you know, what does he get out of beating him? Like, is that Furman needs to kind of get a win to get himself back in there to get the attention of Crawford and or Spence. So I'm all for it if it makes sense for Brook, but I say it again. Go out when people want more. Like when Lennox Lewis went out. Lennox Lewis for me is always the standard bearer of a guy who went out when at the right time. Because so many boxers, 99% of them go out at the wrong time when they've been beaten up. Lennox, classic example, go out when people want more. So then people have better memories of you. That's always my classic example of someone retiring at the top.
That's a very good point.
Ian, big up yourself, man. We'll get you out of here, and we'll have to bring another guest on. But shout out to yourself. Thank you always for contributing.
Thanks,
to the show. And enjoy the rest of the
evening. Nice you put a face to the name.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Big up, Ian. In a bit. Shout out to Ian Hamilton there, man. We've also got another guy here called Ash. We're going to get him on as well. Ash is a regular contributor to the show. Listen, the Keith Furman fight is attractive. It is definitely attractive, that fight is. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, yo, you know what? I like that. These two should have really fought again after Kell Brook won the IBF title. And I think it was Keith Furman that didn't really want the smoke with Brook at that point. Will he want the smoke with Brook now? If he's serious about getting himself back into contention, he should consider that fight for sure. Let's bring Ash in here, get his opinion of the fight. Shout out to Ash. What's going on, bro?
Evening, gents. Hi, Daryl.
On the fight, bro.
Pleasure, Laurie. Pleasure to speak to the Oracle. It's an absolute honor. Every day is an education when we come into the boxing lowdown. Yeah, big up Daryl for the 1K. I'd say, I think firstly the fight was a bit overhyped in terms of how good it was. Maybe the occasion was fantastic, but as a fight, it was a one-sided beatdown. So I've seen people like describe it as a classic, but I haven't seen any other one-sided beatdowns that have been described as a classic. So I think maybe it's been a bit overblown. I think I agree with what's been said in terms of Eubank is a horrible matchup. Yeah, Eubank is a horrible matchup because Brook's chocolate brownies couldn't even knock down or knock out this version of Amir Khan. So Eubank will literally walk right through those punches. He won't even bother with the defense. Those punches will have nil impact on Eubank's chin. So that, as a style matchup at this stage of Brook's career, is an awful one, I think. I don't know about you guys, but I always view Khan as sort of like a boxing version of Wayne Rooney. Like Wayne Rooney burst onto the scene when he was, 16, 17? Yeah. And he burnt out by his late 20s. He was already burnt out when he was supposed to be in his peak. And that's what I think of Khan. I remember Khan from primary school during the Olympics, and now he's still here fighting on pay-per-view. So he's completely past his sell by date, but Kel's won the battle, but Amir's won the war, if you like. So Kel's got this sort of glory over Amir, but Amir will be remembered as a British boxing icon, I think. Whereas I don't think Kel has that sort of status or pedigree within the game.
Let's hear
I'm
your
interested.
thoughts. Yeah, let's get your thoughts on that, Laurie. Your thoughts on that, what Ash just said there. Do you agree that Khan will be remembered, as having the better overall career, go down as the better fighter than Brook? I think that's what you're saying, Ash.
Yeah, and just
Brook
as
won the battle, but Khan wins the war. Let's hear your thoughts on that, Laurie.
I think if you throw in the silver medal that he won at 17 years old, which, like I said, was a phenomenal achievement, then I think, yeah, you would. I mean, let's face it, Amir's won 2 world titles to Kel's 1. But then it could be argued that Kel has the biggest win, because I said that in the show the other night, that I thought that Kell Brook's win over Sean Porter in America at that time when Sean Porter was rampaging through the welterweight division and had just literally mauled Paulie Malignaggi. For him to go there and beat Porter in his own backyard, that was a phenomenal achievement that I think never really got the credit he deserved for that, if you see what I mean. So it's a question. I see where Ash is coming from, but they've both had great careers. They're both going to go down as legends of British boxing, which is why this fight was hyped up so much. And yeah, it was one-sided. But I don't know, man. I just think that we saw, even though we've got to take into account that both fighters have depreciated physically, I think that even in their primes, I think you saw enough to know last night that I think Kell would have beaten Amir even in his prime, for me, because his boxing skills are more. See, Amir is quicker and he's faster. He has more of those athletic gifts in terms of speed and stuff like that. But Kell, I don't know, man. I said it the other day. I summed it up by saying, to me, Kell is more suited to professional boxing than Amir is. Amir, you can see why he went to the Olympics and Kell didn't. Yeah, you can see why those sparring stories about him getting the better of Kell over those 2-3 rounds. You can see why it would have happened. But you can also see why Kell would always have been the better professional fighter, because he's more sturdy, he's more robust, and his style is more suited to professional boxing.
Yeah.
Ash, last one from you, Ash, before we go. What would you like to see next for both guys?
Khan retirement for sure. He's had a great career, fantastic career. He went off to America and did his own thing, so he's sort of a trailblazer in that respect. Whereas I think people should recognise that. I think he should retire. I think Brook should retire, but if he takes one fight, it should be Ben, because he's still. I think we'd agree he's got more skills than Ben at this stage of Ben's career. And we don't know what Ben's chin's like. Maybe Brook's power will carry. We haven't seen Ben get tested in that respect. So I'd like to see that fight over Eubank for sure. But ideally, I'd like to see him retire. And the only other thing I'll say is, I don't know if you guys saw the Fraser Clark fight, but I know for a fact Laurie at his age could have put up a better fight and lasted longer. That was shocking. That was unbelievable.
It was shocking. That guy, he big up yourself, Ash, man. We'll catch up soon, bro. But thank you for joining,
Cheers,
man.
Guys.
That guy, yeah, he wanted a ticket to get in there in the fight, didn't he? And then he just got offered the fight. But yeah, listen, man, he took his licks. He got a couple of grand for it. Fair play to him. Now, Laurie, on to your point about Brook holding the better win of the two. Against Sean Porter. We've got a guy in the chat now. We're going to bring him in. WM, my guy. He was shaking his head. He's like, nope, I do not agree with that. And we're going to get him on right now. And get his. First of all, big up to WM, man. This guy, man. Love this guy, bro. Like, we've been talking for quite a while. And, he's always here in the chat supporting the channel, man. We've passed that 1K, so big him up. I saw WM shaking his head. He's like, nah, man. I don't agree with you, Laurie, on that one.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, just want to say congratulations, Daryl, hitting that 1,000 milestone. It's a big milestone, and I love watching your videos. And big up to you, Laurie, too.
Thank you,
Thanks,
bro.
bro. Appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so biggest win, the Porter fight. It's always one that gets my back up, because if you cast your mind back to when the bell went for the end of the fight, even the Sky Sports commentary team had Porter winning the fight. It was a razor thin decision that Brook got, and I thought he lost the fight. I really did, and a lot of people thought he lost the fight. So to dine out on that victory, I think is just it's too much. And you look at Amir Khan, he fought Maidana. I think the Devon Alexander victory, which was far more conclusive, is a better victory than the Porter win.
Khan
That's
was
just my
perfect.
opinion.
I'll tell you what I think Amir Khan's
Perfect
best
that
win
night against
ever.
Alexander.
I think what his best ever win was is when he fought Zab Judah. When he tore through Zab Judah, man. And if you remember, he landed that body shot and Zab tried to pretend that he hit low. But that's because he had the absolute crap beaten out of it.
Another great win.
And Zab at that time still had juice. And people were saying that Zab's speed and power, that Amir could be in trouble. And Amir can't walk for him. And that was in America as well. But yeah, listen, I take your point. I do remember that fight. And I reckon that the reason why Kell got the fight was that, you know, Sean Porter's got that swarming style. So I think sometimes people can mistake that for that aggression he's showing, but is it effective? And I thought that Kell landed the better shots and his ring generalship was on point that night. And I thought he deserved it by a couple of rounds, but it was close. I mean, I know that the Porters were complaining, but it's interesting that they never pursued a rematch with Kell, did they?
No, they didn't.
Sean Porter say, I want to run it back. You know what I mean?
It kind of sort of summarizes Brook's career that we're debating what was his best win. I mean, in fact, it was his only good win. And it's a crying shame considering how talented he was and potentially still is, that we're talking about what was his best win. I mean, that was his only good win. And over the last 2 minutes, we've talked about Khan having a great win over Maidana, a great win over Alexander, and one that you mentioned, Laurie, which I completely forgot about, which was a Zab Judah win, you know, former world champion. And that really highlights the careers that they had and the career that Brook really should have had. Question will always remain, well, why didn't Brook go on to have a stellar welterweight career? I know a lot of fans will blame Eddie Hearn, and I think that's a real cop-out because really it's all about the fighter.
No, I agree. And I used to, you may or may not know this, I've spoken about this several times on the Boxing Lowdown, but in a previous life, I used to accompany Kugan Cassius on IFL TV. So me and him used to go up and down the country covering a lot of shows. And I can tell you, right, I can tell you straight that Kell Brook, it's not even a rumor, it's out there that he does not live the life outside of, when he's in training camp, apparently he knuckles down and works hard. But his problem has always been, even going back to before he fought Porter, even when he was winning British titles, he had a reputation for the party lifestyle, drinking, doing all sorts of stuff I won't even go into now. So he's always had that. And I think that has hindered his career. He could have done a lot better. So yeah, you're right. I wouldn't blame it all on Eddie Hearn, although Eddie Hearn was one of those who got him in there against Golovkin. I always thought that was folly, and so it was proved. But yeah, so I think Kell has to kind of hold his hands up and accept some of the responsibility for his career not panning out the way it should have done.
Last one from UWM before you go. I'm going to say it to everyone that joins. What would you like to see next for both guys, Khan and then Brook?
So the Khan one is a quick answer, and that's retirement. I think anyone who suggests that Khan continues should really give their head a wobble. As far as Brook is concerned, and this is purely from a selfish fight fan's perspective. Of course, if I knew Kell, if he was a family member, I'd say retire. But we're boxing fans. We saw enough from last night to get us excited, and I'm excited. And I've never really been a Kell Brook fan because I think you either like Kell Brook or you like Amir Khan, particularly when you get emotionally invested in fighters, which I tend to do. But I'd like to see Kell Brook fight someone like Danny Garcia. You know, Danny Garcia has been talking about going up to 154 for what seems like 2 or 3 years now. Yeah. It's a fight that could easily be made, but one, again, without Eddie Hearn, given the Al Heyman, Eddie Hearn saga, if you like. So I'd like to see him fight Danny Garcia. I think it's a fight that could be made, and a fight that hopefully Brook wins.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
Great.
I think that's the beauty of last night, Daryl. And thanks WM for that.
WM, let me just say, WM, thank you, bro. We'll catch up soon, my man. And thank
Pleasure.
you,
guys. Keep up the great work. Love the content.
Thank you, bro. Respect. Thanks for the support. Yeah. So yeah, WM raises an excellent point there.
It's some great points.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying, Daryl. In the immediate aftermath of that win, which, let's face it, man, you looked at Kell Brook last night. He didn't have a scratch on him. I think there might have been a little there. I get bumps like that sometimes when I shave. You know what I mean? So listen, he's still fresh. He must be on absolute cloud 9 right now. And I'm pretty sure Dominic Ingles probably saying to Kell, listen, see what happens when you knuckle down and train the way I told you to train. You know what I mean? They're on that high right now. So there's no way he's going to think, yeah, that's it. Because there's money to be made. There's fights to be made. And at the end of the day, he's a professional fighter. That's how he feeds his family. So
yeah, but
why would he retire? No, what I'm going to say is, why would you retire on such a high when clearly you've got more left? So what I would say is, don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that he should be beating down Errol Spence's door for a rematch or anything like that. But there are fights out there that will be just as big in terms of attraction than fighting for a world title. And you can earn bag loads of money from it, man.
Yeah,
and you can mention it, the Conor Benn fight. To me, that's a 50-50 fight, bro.
Look, I'm going to say...
The only reason why I would put Conor Benn...
Go on.
Yeah, to me, Kell is the better fighter. It's just that Conor is younger and he's improved so much. But you look at what Kell's done throughout his career, what Conor's done doesn't even begin to compare. So if they can get Kell into great condition for a one-off fight with Conor Benn, he has a chance. I'm not saying he would win because you can't discount Conor Benn's youth and intensity, and he has power as well and stuff like that. So that is what would you say, 50, 55, 45, 60, 40 in Conor Benn's favor maybe, but not much more than that, surely.
Yeah, but possibly. But look, one thing I want to say,
and that would sell out any arena in the UK.
Ash is saying what I'm thinking. He's literally saying what I'm thinking is that we need to remember who Kell was in with. Both of these guys haven't been in the ring for a long time. Brook hasn't been in the ring since November 2020. Khan hadn't been in the ring since July 2019. You know what I mean? He was shot. First decent shot landed. Amir Khan was on rubbery legs. No, let's remember that. Now, let me finish. If Brook was to go in there and fight Conor Benn or one of these guys are active. They're live opponents. And Brook, like I said, will he get that emotional high? You know, Harvey's saying it here. Will the motivation be there, Laurie? He had fuel for this fight. I'm not sure it would be the same against the others. And I agree. You're 35 years old. You've won a world title. You've beaten your nemesis over the last 15 years. You've done it. You were hoisted up on Dominic Ingles' shoulders. The crowd were cheering. You're not going to get that emotional high again. You should bow out now at 35 years old. You've made a lot of money over your career. You made a lot of money last night. Why do you want to keep putting yourself through that against a young, hungry lion like Conor Benn? Because it's only going to go down from here. Really. It's only going to go down. You think he's going to fight for a world title again? We saw what happened against Terence Crawford. So, yeah for me, I like to see Kell bow out. I like to see him bow out.
Is no Terence Crawford. I think.
Oh, no, yeah. Oh, no, he's not.
But it's interesting. You use the word shot, and you know it's interesting now, isn't it? Everyone's saying now that Amir's shot. Before, a lot of people, yourself included, was saying you thought Amir would win. You know what I mean?
But listen, like they're both not the same. They're both not the same. They're both not the same. So listen,
you got Triple G. He's fighting at nearly 40. There's loads of guys that. I mean, don't forget Floyd was beating up Canelo Alvarez when he was 37 or something like that. So 35 is not a death sentence. You know what I mean? And listen, Kell, he looked very good last night. And what I'm saying, and listen, I'm not saying.
I think you're over. Like, are you? You got to remember, man.
Let me finish. I'm not saying disagreeing with what you said. I'm not saying that what you said was wrong. All I'm saying is the curiosity in me is thinking to myself that he looked so good last night. Okay, it's a 35-year-old icon that's past his best. But similarly, when Conor Benn fought Algieri, he was shot. He was past his best. When Conor Benn fought, you know what I mean, Sammy Vargas, he was past his best. So it is what it is. What I'm saying is, to me, Kell has enough left to give Conor Benn a real hard night. And you're right. Would he be motivated to fight Conor Benn? I don't know. That's a conversation he probably needs to have with Dominic Ingle. Yeah, first and foremost. But if the motivation is there for an all-British showdown against Conor Benn, would you like to see that, Daryl? Tell the truth. Wouldn't you like to see that?
Listen, Conor Benn, man, and listen, WM is saying exactly what I'm thinking. I'm not on this Conor Benn gravy train like all you guys are, man. WM's the same as me. I'm not like Conor Benn. Like, listen, why are you not? You're going after a 35-year-old Kell Brook and an alcoholic in Adrian Broner. Do you know what I mean? But we're supposed to believe that you're challenging these live guys and you're going to be up in pursuit for a world title shot soon. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Like,
I wouldn't say Adrian Broner's
alive. You should be diverting your attention to the likes of a David Avenesian, you know, the top guys in your division that you're trying to get to. Even a Keith Thurman. Do you know what I mean? But you've jumped on Kell Brook after he's beaten Amir Khan. You're jumping on Adrian Broner after the guys had, you know, issues outside of the ring. Like, why are you not jumping on these live opponents, man? You've got guys in your domestic division. Do you know what I mean? Like the Congos and McKinsons, and then you've got the guys on the European level, like Avenesian, and world level. Like, you know what I mean? You're jumping on a 35-year-old Kell Brook and alcoholic in Adrian Broner.
Right, listen, what I would say is this. You saw that fight last night. You saw the crowd. You saw the hype around it, the vibe around it. To me, that was way bigger than a whole load of world title fights. I'll give you an example. Next week, we got Josh Taylor's fighting Jack Catterall. That's a domestic fight, yeah? That's a fight involving, to me, Josh Taylor's one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world right now. And his fight with Jack Catterall is not getting anywhere near the same energy and vibe and interest as the fight yesterday. And again, Conor Benn versus Kell Brook, especially after last night, man, that would sell out any arena in the country. Would you agree? So you can see why Conor's calling him out, because Conor will know that fight would do it. I mean, listen, man, that's a pay-per-view fight that would sell out, man. Sell out any arena in the country. There'd be a lot of hype, and it's a very winnable fight for Conor Benn.
Yeah, I mean, are we just in this for prize fighting now, or are we in this for titles anymore and getting yourself in that position? Like, what way are we going here? Because, like, for me, it just...
I think you've been a little bit overcritical of Conor Benn, because I'll tell you why. Because, listen, the guy is what? How old is he now? Mid-20s?
Yeah.
Right? And he came to boxing quite late. Let's face it. He didn't have an established amateur career. He did a lot of his early boxing in Australia. No disrespect to them. Their amateur scene is not great. And even if it was, he never did a lot of amateur boxing in Australia. So he doesn't have you know what I mean, not coming from a background that's like deep rooted in boxing in that respect. So he started further down the ladder. So you've got to give him time to grow. And even now, he's exciting. To me, he's probably the most improved fighter in Britain. I've said that a few times, and I do believe that. Yeah, because when you saw his early fights, you looked at him and you, a bit like how some people look at Matthew Hatton. Sorry, not Matthew Hatton. What's the guy's name? Ricky Hatton. Campbell Hatton. So some people looked at him a bit like the way they're looking at Campbell Hatton now. Oh, yeah, he's never going to be as good as his dad. But to be fair to the guy, he's gone away. He's worked hard. He's had a couple of performances that were definitely less than stellar. I remember when he fought the French guy. The French guy's name escapes me now. A lot of people thought he lost that fight. And even in the rematch with the French guy, he didn't look that good. Renault or Penot or something like that. Yeah. So you've got to give the man credit. He's gone away, he's worked on his game, and now he's looking a potential world-class fighter. But you can't rush the product. You cannot rush.
Harvey says here, at 35, you've beaten the man you've chased for over 10 years in one of the most anticipated rivalries in British boxing history, in a performance as dominant as that. What a way to retire. I totally agree. It's not, you're not going to reach the same emotional level as he did after last night. He's not, because
But
he's
I
been
don't
chasing.
disagree with that. All I'm saying is that listen, I don't disagree with that. I just want to make that clear. What you're saying is not wrong. If he was to retire tomorrow, most people would say, you know what, yeah, fair play. You've done what you said you were going to do. You retire. You can retire a happy man and a rich man, because I'm sure he would have come out of that last night. He's going to make millions from that fight. And he deserves it, by the way. So does Khan. But there will be that other little thing inside of that competitive element, and say, listen, man, if I can train as good as that and as long as that and as hard as that and motivate myself, you know what? I can still make noise in this game. I can make money. I can get a couple more big fights. I can win a couple more big fights. I'm sure that's what he's thinking there. And you all know that boxers' reputation for retiring is not great, is it? So
No,
if he had,
which is why it would be a nice. Which is why it would be a nice change to see someone retire. I mean, we've seen a few guys do it in the past, like obviously Andre Ward, as Ian Hamilton was saying earlier. Lennox Lewis is another one. You know what I mean? They knew when to get out the game. So it's always nice to see a fighter say, you know what? Like, I've made my money. Like Mayweather as well. Obviously, he's another level. But like Mayweather, he got out the game when he needed to. Like, this would be Carl Froch got out. This is a similar situation here, where Carl Froch had a serious rival in George Groves, had a huge domestic fight, you know what I mean, Wembley Stadium. That's what he was, you know, we'll look at him and remember him for. Obviously, he had a great career before that, not taking anything away from him. But that win over George Groves at Wembley Stadium, 80,000 people, knocking him out like he did. It could be like Brook could go out on a high like that too, beating your rival in Amir Khan the way he did, being hoisted on Dominic Ingle's shoulders the way he was. You know what I mean? Finally getting the win over your long-term rival. Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, Conor Bennett is a good fight. I would tune in. I'm not saying I wouldn't. But let me read this comment here from WM. He says here, if it was up to Ben's handlers, they would have chosen Khan over Brook. Ben is being very carefully managed. No risky fights. Certainly not a potentially revitalized former world champion in Brook. And also, we've got to remember that Ben is promoted by Eddie Hearn. Is he going to want to do Brook any favors?
I think money talks, man. I think money talks. And that would be a blockbuster. The Ben name, the way Conor carries himself. I mean, Conor's built for selling fights. You've seen him, man. He's vociferous. He's cocky. He's loquacious. You know what I mean? He's quite easy to antagonize. So I would imagine Kell will be doing to Conor what Amir was doing to Kell in the lead up to this fight, which is try and get under his skin. Just a few carefully placed barbs, like who is he? What's he done? You know that's going to upset Conor. And then next minute, you know, they're going to be saying they hate each other. I don't like it. And you know that grudge fights sell, especially grudge in this country, especially where there's, you know, what we call local derbies and all that. You know what I mean? Kell's from Sheffield, up north. You know what I mean? Connor's from down south. He lives in Essex. It's natural, man. Let's do it. Seriously, bro. I would love to see that fight. But then if Kell was to chat to his loved ones and Dominic Ingalls sit down and they say, look, Kell, you know what? I know you're tempted, but I'd like to see you retire now. And if he took their advice, I would have no problem with that. I'm not trying to say get out of retirement. Or I'm not trying to say I want to see you fight on, I want to see you fight. I'm just saying that he looked so good last night that he might be tempted to go on. And if he did go on for one more fight, I personally wouldn't hold it against him because he looked that good yesterday.
You had the option. You could pick out of one of these two for Kell Brook. Who would it be? Conor Benn or Keith Thurman? Or Danny Garcia at 154. Let's add another one in there. Or actually, you know what? Let me add 4 in there for you, Laurie. Let me add 4 in there. Sorry. We got Conor Benn, Keith Thurman, or move up to 154, face Danny Garcia or Liam Smith. Those 4 there. What would you like for Kell Brook if Brook was to carry on?
That's a very good question. In particularly, I like the Ben and the Thurman fight. So that would be my shortlist out of the 4.
At welterweight.
Yeah, welterweight, or even a catchweight at 140. What's it?
150.
149. Yeah. Whether Conor will agree to that, I'm not so sure because he's not a big welterweight, is he? So I don't know. I would have to say Conor Benn, man. I mean, I love the Thurman fight, but I think there'd be more interest around a Conor Benn fight because it's more of a natural fight. It's a local derby, domestic dust up, and that's the kind of fights that sell, man. So in terms of the sheer magnitude of the event, the Conor Benn fight would be bigger and no less interesting than the Thurman fight. And I think it's a fight that Kell could do well in, man. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? I would not say offhand, Conor Benn beats him because Kell, to me, has enough to test Conor. Certainly more than anyone he's been in the ring with so far. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
But listen,
so at the very least, we're going to get a competitive fight. More competitive, I might add, than it was last night.
Yeah. I mean, what went wrong for Khan in there, man? I mean, the first shot was his punch resistance. He never got put down on the canvas, and he did take some good shots there in that fight, and he wasn't put down. But the first real solid shot that landed in the first round had Khan doing the Harlem Shake in there, man. And I just think
that was timing, and that's what. Remember, we spoke before that. About that, we said what beats speed? Timing. It's a bit like the Eubank when he dropped Williams. He waited Williams to close the gap. He landed a stiff jab. Williams walked onto it and he went down. Same like last night. Kell timed him. Amir coming in because you know Amir is going to jump in with those fast combos. Timed him, wobbled him, and that was all she wrote. From that point on, man, Amir's legs did that little shake and he was in trouble. Timing, man. And listen, I thought, like I said, I'd give enough respect to Amir Khan, man, because lots of fighters would have found a way to bow out long before the 6th round because he was getting battered in there and he still kept trying. He wasn't just in there surviving. He was actually trying to land punches. But I would say this, right, and not too many people have picked up on this, but I think that you heard Amir Khan say before the fight that he got himself into tremendous condition, running up all those hills, doing all that sparring, doing all that conditioning work with Bomac. And I honestly think that it was the condition that he was in allowed him to go that far, where the fact that he wasn't dropped and the referee jumped in, because I thought he could have been pulled out the round before, to be honest. But the fact that he was still on his feet was testimony to the conditioning that he was in. So shout out to Bomac for that. Because he was in great, especially when you think as well, 35 years old. Because we all know Kell can hit, man. You know what I mean? Kell maybe not a one-punch, devastating power puncher, but everybody in the trade knows that Kell Brook does have a very decent right hand, man.
Last one here, we've spoken a lot about Kell Brook. We'll speak on Amir Khan before we go. It's looking like Amir Khan will call it a day. He hasn't officially confirmed it yet, but in the post-fight interviews, he basically admitted, he was just saying, like, my love for the game isn't there anymore as much as it is. It was a conclusive defeat to Kell Brook. His face was battered at the end of it. He's made a lot of money, Amir Khan, over the years. He hadn't fought until July. Well, he hadn't fought since July 2019 previously. So it's clear he doesn't need to box now like he did before. He's making money outside of the ring. He makes a lot of celebrity appearances, and he'll still do that, I'm sure, after last night. So it's looking very likely that Khan will hang up the gloves. How will he be remembered in British boxing history, Amir Khan?
Well, listen, he will go down as a British boxing legend, I'm sure. I've got no doubts about that. I spoke earlier on of his achievements as an amateur. To win a gold medal at 17 years old. He lost in the final to a Cuban, and it wasn't just any old Cuban. It was one of their all-time great amateur fighters. They later had a fight in this country, and Amir won that. So he's achieved great things as an amateur, former amateur world champion, Olympic silver medalist. He's gone on to have a very successful career as a professional. He's won 2 world titles. He will go down as one of our better fighters over the last so many years. So there's no, there's no shame in what happened last night. He just lost out to the better man of the night. And yes, he's lost the bragging rights. And those bragging rights are considerable because Kell Brook and all the fans that support Kell Brook will always say, I told you he was better than Amir Khan. But listen, that happens, man. You know what I mean? That happens. So, you know, in time that will dissipate and people still remember him as a great fighter. I hope he does retire. I mean, because sometimes fighters in the immediate aftermath of a fight, they'll talk that retirement stuff. And then 2-3 weeks or a couple of months later, you'll hear so that he's fighting on and blah, blah, blah. So I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, listen, there's still a lot for Amir Khan. If he wants to stay in boxing, he's a respected name in terms of what he can do behind the scenes. So, for example, we know that Amir Khan is looked up to and loved by a lot of the British Asians in this country. You only had to listen to the Aziz brothers yesterday, and they spoke in glowing terms about Amir Khan. So what about him becoming a promoter or a manager or a trainer or something like that? So he can still stay in the game if he wants to. He might want to take a long rest for, you know, in the immediate aftermath of what happened. But listen, man, there's a future for him in the sport. It's up to him what he does. Or he might want to walk away from boxing completely and do something completely different with his life. But either way, he should retire. And I hope he retires because, like I said, he will go down as one of our better fighters over the last X amount of years. I'm pretty sure everybody will agree with that, surely.
Yeah, and he's provided countless entertainment in the ring, man. Some terrific performances, some thrills, some spills. Do you know what I mean? There was the upsets. Like, he's delivered, man. And, you know, we've followed this guy since he was 17 years old, had the weight of the nation on his shoulders as being the only representative at for the boxing at the Olympics at the time. And, you know, he was just a kid, still got a silver medal. So since then, he's taken to a lot of British people, especially in particular the Asian community, like you said. And I think that's a good shout. I think that is a good shout. His name does hold weight in boxing, especially within those circles. And he could do that after he retires, so to speak. So got nothing more to prove. Let's hope he does that, man. I mean, he is an astute businessman, as Ash is saying here. You know, he went over to America. He did very well over there. So whatever Khan decides to do outside of the ropes, I'm sure he'll be successful at it. But listen, after all these years, man, we've been waiting for this fight. We've been talking about it. We thought that it would never happen. It did happen last night. We finally got to see it. In the end, it was pretty much, you know, a one-sided win for Kell Brook. He does get the bragging rights, but it's all over now. And Laurie, just your final thoughts on this before we go. You know, just on this event and what it means for British boxing and, you know, where we're at as a sport at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like a chapter has been passed in this particular rivalry. I always kind of had that view that Kell would have won had they fought. I've said it before, even in their prime. I just think that Kell just had that little bit more in terms of professionalism, you know what I mean? Like I said, Amir Khan's got some great attributes, but I just thought that Kell was the stronger, more robust, tougher, better puncher. And I think his style that he uses in professional boxing is more suitable. So I always suspected that he would win. But listen, that's not to take away from Amir Khan. I just thought that Kell Brook would always win that fight. And I think last night he did prove that had they have fought, even back in the day, I think he would have won. So anyway, so I'm pleased for Kell because I have to say this, right? I'm pleased for Kell on a personal level because I think over the years, Amir has used this status in boxing to kind of look down his nose at Kell a little bit. And let's face it, man, let's be honest. Let's keep it 100 here. That fight should have been made years and years ago. And to all intents and purposes, it was always Amir Khan that didn't want the fight, kind of looked down his nose at Kell, said, who are you for? What have you done? I mean, even in the lead up to this fight, I was hearing Amir Khan's dad say the same thing. Who has Kell fought? I'm like, come on now. The man's fought Sean Porter, he's fought Golovkin, he's fought Errol Spence, he's fought Crawford. He hasn't beaten those guys, obviously. But you ask who he's fought a lot of great names. But anyway, so yeah, I've always thought Amir Khan kind of looked down his nose at Kell a little bit, and he could have been a bit dismissive, a bit arrogant. And like Kell said, that used to really make him upset. And you could see why that would get under his skin. So for him now to turn the tables and get the bragging rights in such a conclusive manner, then you've got to say shout out to Kell, man, because he believed in himself. He pursued the fight when a lot of people were saying, look, You're letting Kel get it. You're letting Amir get in your head and all that. He's had the last laugh now, isn't he? But respect goes to both guys. It was a great night.
It was a great night, man. One rivalry that we can add up there amongst the great, domestic rivalries we've had in the UK over the past, few decades, really. This one, you can put it up there. I'm not sure where we can put it in that mix, but it definitely deserves to be up there considering the long history.
I mean, it's not quite Ben Eubank, is it? And people like that. But it's up there. I mean, I would say it's not. It's up there with Frotch and Groves, isn't it? And Ben and all that lot. David Hay and Chisora. There's been quite a few grudge matches over the years, man. But that one last night is definitely up there. Maybe the fight was a bit one-sided, more one-sided, for example, than the Frotch Groves fights. But in terms of interest, in terms of magnitude, in terms of attraction and stuff like that, pay-per-view sales, I'm sure it's way up there, man.
Penny, for your thoughts to what Eddie Hearn might be thinking, man. He wasn't able to deliver this fight, but we did finally get it. It might have been a few years too late, but
late than never.
I think we might have to talk about that on the podcast next week. Do you know what I mean? Just the fact that Sky, you can't beat it. I'm sorry, you can't. I don't think you could beat. Sky had the hype machine rolling for this fight, man. I mean, it was great. And with DAZN not being able to get the BT deal, I wonder what Eddie Hearn's thinking, man. I mean, he's still the premier promoter. He still does have he still is the best promoter going. But to see an event like that and have him not involved in it just shows you that Sky have started to move on, you know what I mean? And, fair play to Boxer.
If you're Eddie Hearn, you're probably looking over your shoulder at Ben Shalem and think, this man's coming, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, a couple more events like that, and Boxer are going to be definitely on the heels of Eddie, man. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
No, I mean, credit to everyone that was involved in that last night. I thought the commentary team were good yesterday as well. The whole way Boxer and Sky handled that whole event, I thought it was spot on. Yeah. You know what I mean? I thought it was really good. And like I said, you can always tell when a fight captures the imagination of this country is that when you get casuals coming up to you in the office or in the pubs or in the bars on the street saying who you think's going to win, who you've got tonight. I mean, even today when I met up with those guys from football, they were talking about that fight. You know what I mean? I haven't really heard them talk too much about boxing in that regard, but everyone seemed to have an interest. Everyone seemed to have an opinion. Everyone seemed to have, their favoured fighter who they wanted to win. And it's great for the sport, really, isn't it? Let's be honest, man.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was the biggest sport this weekend, would you say?
Say again?
That was the biggest sporting event of the weekend, the boxing.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, for sure.
Because even I noticed that there was a lot of interest in this fight in America as well. You only had to go online and see some of the social media stuff and YouTube, some of the boxing shows that are out. You know what I mean? They were talking about that fight exclusively. So, and don't forget Jaime Munguia was fighting yesterday, and no one even mentioned that.
I forgot about it. That tells you all you need to know. Yeah, Amir Zishan says here, do you want Khan to? Well, we said earlier, pretty conclusively, we'd like to see Khan.
He's got to call it a day now.
He's got to call it a day. He's got to call it a day.
I think he will. I mean, he said it pretty much, didn't he, in the interview?
Yeah, exactly. In his post-fight interview, he was pretty, he didn't actually say it, but you could tell that's where he's going. So expect a statement or some sort from Khan soon to announce his retirement. Not that I know anything about that, but judging from the interview yesterday, it seems like it is on the cards. But listen, Laurie, we're going to look it off here, man. Had a nice hour today. Had a good few people on, which is great. And shout out to everybody in the comments as well, man. Like I said, before we go, last one here, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. We passed 1,000 subs yesterday, man. A great feeling. We've been chasing it for a long time. Finally there now. Let's move on to 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 and so on, man.
That's right. That's right. Listen, I echo that, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody but those people that watch along. I was looking at the numbers yesterday. Very encouraging numbers we did there. So, and people in the comments saying that they like the show. So, yeah, man, more big things to come. There'll be more watch alongs like that. But in the meantime, yeah, thanks everybody for supporting. Like, share, subscribe. But like Daryl said, man, we've hit the 1,000, but now we got a new target, 2,000. So keep it coming.
Big up to everybody, man. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll catch you guys next week, man. Peace out.